So last episode we were finishing putting the engine in the car and we were hoping we'd get it done and running, but it did not run and we had to get out of here, and then Matt left on vacation and he's finally back now, so we can finally hopefully finish this thing up. Now, I know why it's not running now. I went back and watched some of the other footage of the way I did something and I made a mistake. Even though I've done this job a bunch of times, I still messed up when I put the cam gears on. So it was in the end of episode 2. I ended up having to go back and edit it to change it, so I'm not showing you how to do it the wrong way because I just forgot and I did not do it correctly. So my apologies for that. And like I said, even if you've done this before, it's easy to make mistakes. So don't forget to stop and double check your work. And anyways, I think we should just go ahead and fix that real quick. And hopefully it won't take too long. Luckily, since I did the coolant reroute and let me think, what else we got in here? I don't know. Since we did the coolant reroute and some other stuff and the intake's not on right now, it's really easy to access that. I shouldn't even have to pull the valve cover off to do it. But let's go ahead and get started and we'll see if it runs and how it runs. Okay, so first I'm going to go ahead and pull the top spark plug back out, and I can set it to top dead center with the crank pulley still, but I would like to be able to at least verify that the engine's at top dead center again by throwing a screwdriver in here. So let's do that. All right, there she is. Ooh, I don't know if this screwdriver is going to be long enough. We'll see. Now let me just turn it over to top dead center again. Alright, the engine's at top dead center, so I'm hoping I can just reach in right here since I have this opened up anyway. I shouldn't have to take this pulley off, but I do need to loosen up the tensioner for the timing belt. Just gotta slip the wrench in here. There we go. All right, that took some tension off of the belt. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and pull the belt off. Maybe I should, yeah, I'll pull the spring off too. There we go. All right, no tension on the belt. Come on. All right, there we go. Now you want to make sure that the crank does not get turned at all, so just don't touch it. So I need to go ahead and pull the cam gears back off. Oh, come on, really? There we go. There we go. So here's the part where I messed up. Let me show you. This is the exhaust cam gear, and you can see on the nose of the camshaft there's this little nub that sticks out, this little stub. And if you go to the exhaust cam, there's 3 different options for where that stub can go. And this is where I messed up because I mixed up 2 different things in my head. You have this, let's just, for an example, I'll show you, it has this E on the cam gear right here. That spot right there is actually where that nub goes, but when you go to line the cam gears up down here with the marks on the timing cover, it's actually the I on the exhaust cam that you match up with that. So that was the mistake I made. I accidentally kind of did it backwards. I put the stub on the I thinking that that was where it's going to go. Anyways, that was not right, but all I have to do is turn this over, put that on the E, and that's it for that. And then I have to do the same thing on the intake cam. Now, the intake cam's the same deal except for it's an I. You want to line up the intake cam, that stub on the end, into the slot that lines up with the I up here. And then the E is what you line up with the timing cover. So now that I know that the crank is at top dead center, I still need to get the cams set to their proper locations. So to do that, I'm actually just going to go ahead and use a couple wrenches. And on the exhaust cam, I need to go ahead and line up the I. It's going to go like right there. So that's close enough. I'll let it sit like that for a second. And then let me get the intake cam close as well. And I gotta get the E on the intake cam, which is right here, lined up. Oop, okay, so they're both just a little bit past it right now. So here's what I'm going to do, is I'm gonna get the timing belt lined up with it. I actually should probably use socket wrenches for this so that I have space. And then you can hold it real fast while I do that. Okay, so this one needs to go back up this way a little bit, and then this one actually needs to go back up that way a little bit. They both need to go backwards. So this, oh, whoopsies, actually no, sorry. This one needs to go up that way a little ways, and then that one needs to go up. Okay, so hold on. Get the, that's farther than it needs to go actually. So here, let me see it. I'll set it. All right, right there. Hold that one. And then right there, hold that one. Okay, and since this is still at top dead center and hasn't moved, theoretically, this should be where the belt goes. All right, let it go. Now we got to count the teeth. Let's see here. Yeah, it's loose because it's got the tensioner off right now. But let's count the space between the teeth. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That should hopefully do it. Let's see if I can get the tensioner spring on here easily. I don't know how hard that's going to be. Let me just get the spring back on here. There we go. All right. Well, what I need to do is turn the engine over a few times and then just check that everything's lined up straight. See? Yeah. See, I just took the slack out. Now I'll stop at the next top dead center. I'm just watching the pulley marks down here on the crank pulley. Okay, and it is getting right there. Let me get one more turn on that. Okay, let it go. There we go. That's about the right amount of deflection. There's enough. Okay. Okay, so Matt's putting the wheels back on the car now. Now, one of the only things I have left to do here is put the intake on. Now this part, I'm not sure if this is gonna work with the 1.8 car. This might not work at all.
Alright, you guys, while Jesse's working on the airbox there, me and Christian are going to bleed the clutch. It's going to be an 8mm to bleed it. If you have any questions on how to do it, just go ahead and refer back to our clutch video. It is a pretty tight fit down there, so we're just going to go ahead and take care of it, okay?
Okay.
Shut it. Holding?
Yep. I'm not so sure this is going to work at all, honestly, just because of the coolant reroute.
Alright, give me 10.
That hose doesn't come off and turn away immediately, and the 1.8 engine pushes that out too far. I'll have to figure something else out. I'm attaching a ground to the back side of the block here, just so you know there is a ground that comes up next to the master cylinder or for the brakes on this side, and it just goes right next to the cam angle sensor. Okay guys, so I've got all the grounds attached and everything else. They just finished bleeding the clutch system out. That should be pretty much everything we need, at least that I can remember right now. Oh look, the throttle position sensor got unplugged. Oop, for now. Anyways, except for the intake. Now this is one spot here that I think I would recommend you guys just go buy a 1.8 intake if you're doing a 1.8 swap like this. I am sure they're not hard to find. I see them for sale all the time and they're very cheap. So I would recommend just doing that. I'm not going to because I don't want to keep it anyway. I'm going to be throwing the turbo in here. So the 1.61 is just not going to work. I tried taking that sound deadening box out of it and it's still running into the hose on this side for the coolant reroute, which is a bummer. And that's another thing we need to do. We could throw some coolant in here right now, but we haven't even got the engine running yet. So we'll check that again and test that first in just a second. Now without the airflow meter on here, and also we talked about this before, but I deleted the idle air controller, so it will probably just run for a second and die. If it does run, it's not going to just keep running fine and smoothly. But I do know, at least if we can start it up right now and at least get it running for a little bit, for a few seconds, that it's working properly, and I can address the intake stuff later. Now, let's see here. I've got 2 vacuum ports here. I think I need to cap one of them off for now, and the other one's from the charcoal canister. Oh yeah, there it is. Look at that. Right there. I'd rather go underneath though. Okay. All right, and then I have a cap I can throw on here, and that one.
Was that for the EGR?
What?
The one back here.
That's probably what that one was for.
The
Yeah.
EGR was right there.
Yes, that's exactly what that was for, probably. So anyway, I'll cap those 2 off, but I still got to worry about the intake itself. Otherwise, though, other than the intake, we really just have to fill this thing up with some coolant and water, and it should be pretty good to go. So I think we're gonna go ahead and try and start it up right now. I hope it runs. Why not?
With this, it should be starting, so it doesn't seem like it's gonna spark.
Well, maybe not. Did we unplug anything or anything that moved? Let me actually see, is the fuel pump turning on? I think there might be something where if the airflow meter's unplugged, it might not send fuel, but it still should have been starting even with
The card cleaner.
the car cleaner, but let me see if I hear the fuel pump. You're quiet? Okay.
Grab this, I'll just use this.
Will that test spark?
You just attach it to a ground and stick it in one of the plugs and it'll light up.
Alright, it'll tell you?
It'll just light up.
Let's see. No,
Nope.
it's not lighting up.
No.
We'll try one of the other ones.
Yeah.
It's possible I messed up the wires on one of the cam sensor wiring or something like that.
Alright, go ahead.
Which one did you do first and which one did you do second?
Front, and then second from the front.
So 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, that's good. Those are 2 separate coils. 1 and 4 and 2 and 3 shared coils. So why would it not be getting fuel or be getting spark? Okay, so I actually did just crank the car over and the engine actually fired up and ran for about a second and a half or 2 before it shut off, and I figured out the reason why. It was bad cam angle sensor wiring. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually get a soldering gun and resolder all the connections in there, because obviously I can't trust those crimp connections anymore. I used crimp connections last time I did it on my old car, and I don't know if maybe just these specific connectors I was using didn't clamp down as well or what, but I went to open up, I cut through the heat shrink going down the loom for the cam angle sensor, and just cutting through it and opening the heat shrink up, 2 of the wires in those connectors just came right out. So obviously that's no good. So hopefully we can redo it with some new connectors and we can continue to figure out a few things here. But I'll let you know what happens. So I think we're gonna actually steal a part from Matt's car right here to get my intake situation figured out. Now I think that the stock air box from the 1.6 car could work on the 1.8 if you're running the stock routing for your coolant hose here, for the top heater hose. But with the 1.8 in there, the 1.8 intake manifold just pushes that thing out another few inches, and that combined with the fact that my coolant reroute's going back down this way instead of going straight across, makes it a problem. So Matt has this little HKS intake piece over here that just hooks you up to straight to the airflow meter, and I think if I steal that, I can get some tubing figured out to get onto there. And the reason is because none of the tubing and the elbows or anything that I had for my turbo setup will fit directly onto the airflow meter because it's not the same sizing. But this will allow me to do that, and then I can just throw a stock one way to go, buddy. You just ran up and hit him in the nuts. But anyway, I think I'll be able to just throw the stock elbow back into Matt's car temporarily, and we can run that for a little while, and then we should be good to go. And the reason I can't use the stock one is because it doesn't hook up the same way. I don't know. Anyways, let's try it out. Okay, well, we'll give this a shot and see if it works or not. Oh, there we go, man. Okay, so here's the plan. I can chop this elbow down a little bit shorter, and it should be able to fit onto the intake manifold there and go across and clear the front of the radiator. And then I have this long piece of 2.5 inch piping, and obviously that's not perfect, but because it's oval shaped, but I think it's the same size. Like, oh, look at that. It's a hair bigger, but if I use a good T-bolt clamp and clamp it down, it'll probably be just fine. So here's what we need to do then, and then I'm not going to use the stock airbox. I'll just we'll put this in your car. But I think I should be able to get it figured out like that. I think that'll work. Okay, so Christian's gonna go ahead and finish working that intake system out, and I'm gonna go ahead and mess with the cast here. And this is what I was telling you about. I went to pull the heat shrink off and just pull it apart, and look at that. That one and then the white one here both just came right out. So that's a bummer. I don't trust it. I'm considering going back and redoing these, but for now I'm gonna leave them. I think they're okay. And actually these ones in the back here are the same ones that I did several months ago, and I used a little bit different crimps for that, and those ones up back here have held up for several months. I mean 10 months or so now, so I think they'll probably be okay. But what I am gonna do is go ahead and just cut all these ones, and let me see here. Yeah, I'm just gonna cut these and solder them. I think that's the best idea.
Alright, so I already swapped these out, but this thing was actually trashed, like boot's gone. So we put this one on. It's not really meant for this car, so we had to stretch it to fit. Drop that there.
It's a Nissan 240SX one.
Yeah, what he said. So what I did was I swapped the shifter boot underneath here. Can't really see it now, but the old one was pretty trashed, and it's just to keep sound out. And I put some sound dampening material back in, and left this annoying light right here in the middle unplugged. And now it's just putting screws in here, here.
There we go, it's starting to melt. Slowly. Hold on, just hold it in the same spot. Oh wow, dude, this is so ghetto. This is some Haggard garage style stuff going on here. Dude, look, did you show him how he's hooked up the intake tube?
Yeah.
Oh,
look at all
gosh.
this.
All these zip ties. Oh man. Don't do it this way. If you're planning on doing your motor swap and you're not turboing the car, just get a 1.8 intake. They're cheap and easy to find.
This is just temporary.
Nah, they know what your quality of work is, not Christian. They know what to expect.
You said to use zip ties.
Your name is tarnished. It's too late.
That was your idea.
Oh, hey, where are my keys? Hey. All right, so this intake thing here is actually working fine, and the engine does idle okay even without the idle air controller. And I need to cap off the EGR port down there. I'm going to see if I can look around and find a bolt. I don't know if I have any here though. I might have to get one from the hardware store. But the intake setup's working fine, so...
Don't do this. This is very temporary.
Yeah, way to go, Haggard Garage, bro.
But hey, like, I mean...
It works for now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it perfect, but it works for now.
It had to be jerry-rigged.
All right, and then anyways, next we are going to start filling up the radiator with fluid and see how that goes. But... I know, it runs at least. We've got some kinks to work out, but hopefully we'll finish soon. Okay, so I needed to plug up the vacuum lines here on the top of the intake manifold. So I just went over to Napa and got these little plugs over there. It's like $2, those tiny things. So the vacuum lines are plugged because I know I started up and it was kind of idling pretty rough. I'm sure that was a big reason for it, is the fact that I was missing those. I don't know, I still don't know how it's going to affect it without having the idle air control valve. I guess we'll see. We did put some water in here already and some coolant, so for now I'll leave that. Now we need to time the engine still, and it was sounding like a diesel when it was running because the EGR port is still open on the exhaust. And I also went to Napa and tried to find a cap there for it. And I know I said I was going to try and put a screw in there, or a bolt in there to block it off, but I couldn't find any sitting around here. And Napa actually carries some, but they didn't have any big enough. I went and got a 3/8 NTP cap, and it's just too small. I think that's a 1/2 inch, which I would have to order from them. But instead, I'm going to do this. Where's the EGR tube? So since this is temporary, I'm just gonna chop the EGR tube like right here, and I'm gonna pound it flat with a hammer and fold it over and pound it flat a few more times, and I think that'll seal it up, and I'll just bolt it right on, and that should seal it up just fine. It might be like, I mean, I probably won't lose any exhaust through there actually if I hammer it right and get it sealed well enough. But even if I do, and if it's a tiny bit, it's not a big deal since this is temporary. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop this and do that real quick, and then we'll go ahead and time the engine and start it up again and see how it runs. Look at that. That's pretty good. I just need to bend it. I don't think any exhaust is coming out of there.
Looks professional to me.
Well, I mean, it's sealed up pretty dang good. So let's just go ahead and screw that on and I'll call that good. I'm just gonna have to use some adjustable pliers or something. Okay. All right, I think it's tight enough. Hopefully that holds up good. All right, now we're gonna time the engine. So I'm gonna actually mark the spot on the crank with some white out here. Now, if you guys have any questions about how to time the engine, we do have a video on it, so go check that out. But there we go, that's the spot right there. So I'm gonna let that dry for about 30 seconds or so, and while I'm waiting, I'll hook the gun up, and hopefully we can get this thing timed. So we're gonna have to play a little bit of a game with setting the idle to the right speed and getting the engine timing dialed in properly, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so I actually didn't leave it that tight, but I did need to knock it loose a little bit. So to access the back of the cam angle sensor there, I have this socket wrench with an elbow on it, and I just turned it one click like that. I used a short 13 millimeter socket, and I just reached around behind the cam angle sensor. There we go. That actually was it right there. And then I can barely get to it with my fingers if I want to loosen it a little more. So let me see if it turns. Yeah, right there it turns. So let me actually see if I can tighten it just a little bit, because I don't want it to move too easy. I don't want it to move itself under the vibration of the engine. And right there is about the middle, so we'll try that first and see how that works out. But I still didn't hook the gun up, so one sec. Positive, ground, induction on the first wire. There we go. All right, now I just got to fire it up and I can start setting the timing, but I do want to see, and use a flathead for that guy. I'll probably need to adjust my idle a bit, because before I had it all set up running on a Mega Squirt without the idle air control valve, and this is running on a stock computer, so it might change a bit. Yeah, see, I think that was maxed out before. Let's set it back a bit. All right, right there's probably fine. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get the car to idle, and I'm gonna use this here to try and get it to idle around 800 to 850 RPM. and then I'm going to set the timing from there because that's about where it's supposed to do it when you do it to the stock car. The one thing that does happen though is when you change the timing, sometimes it changes the idle a bit. So sometimes you got to go back and forth and get it to balance out. But all right, I'll just start it up and start messing with it. Actually, since it's not on the Mega Squirt, I'm actually going to put the car in a diagnostics mode by jumping the pins in here. You can't do that when it's on the Mega Squirt, but I just got to jump the 10 and the ground. Okay. Right now it's idling like 1400 RPM, so I need to turn it down. There, it's coming down. Man, you can feel the engine vibrations a little stronger because of those solid mounts. Or not solid, but those poly mounts. Let's see what that is. Needs to come lower.
What's it at?
It's at like 1200. Yeah, that's about as low as it's gonna go on here. So let's just adjust the timing and see what happens. See where it is now. Right now it's actually about where I want it. It's almost exactly at 14 degrees. So, all right, I'm just gonna leave it right there about 13 degrees or so. Now tighten up your cam angle sensor so you don't lose its position. There we go. And I guess I'm just not gonna be able to get it to idle down any lower. I feel like I can kind of hear a little bit of an exhaust leak back here, so I'm going to try and find that. It might have a leak at the intake manifold, I'm not sure, because I can hear a slight whisper, like sucking noise. It could be one of the blocked off EGR ports too, though. I'm not sure. I wish I could get to idle lower, but I'm gonna have to find that vacuum leak first. So I topped the system off with water for now. I'll leave it after I take it for a test drive and stuff. After I can let it cool down, I'll come back and check the level again, see if I need to add more. For now, that should be good. So I found something important. I was holding the revs before and it was just sitting there bouncing like over and over again. And I unplugged my throttle position sensor and now it works as it should. So here, let me shut it off and I'll tell you what's going on. Okay, so I just learned something right here that I think would be very useful to you guys. I think I definitely mentioned earlier in this swap series, if you're doing a 1.8 swap in here and you're planning on keeping the stock ECU and everything else, just get the Fly Miata kit and get their throttle body adapter so you can put the 1.6 one on here. Or I think there is actually a way still to wire up the 1.8 one on to work better, but this is what I found out. I showed in a diagram before how to wire, or not a diagram, I showed in the video before how to wire up your 1.8 throttle position sensor, which is a 4-wire plug, onto the 1.6 harness, which is a 3-wire. And I found out, I was just doing some more research, reading about it. I guess that only works if you're running a Mega Squirt. If you're running on the stock ECU still, it sends a totally different signal, and I was getting it to kill my revs. Every time I go to rev it, it'll go up and then just slam back down to idle, and then rev up and go back down to idle. And it was not working. And then as soon as I unplugged the throttle position sensor, it seems to run a lot better. So I think that kind of answers that question a little bit at least. But that's okay, I guess. I'm gonna put a Mega Squirt in here as soon as I possibly can. So that's okay. I'll just leave the throttle position sensor unplugged until the Mega Squirt goes in here, and then that should work fine. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this, for now. There's going to be some little things to dial in here and there, but I think the 1.8 swap can officially be called completed.
Relatively completed.
Relatively completed. Fine. Way to go, Debbie Downer. Well, guys, I think we can finally say that the 1.8 engine swap is completed. So I'm very happy about that. The car actually runs pretty good. The only question mark right now, we haven't run it for super long, and it's kind of letting a lot of smoke out the back. That might just be an accumulation of like oil and stuff that was sitting in the tailpipe smoking out, so we'll see. I guess I'll find out over the next week driving it around if I don't know, if something in the engine's damaged, because it wasn't an accident, so you gotta remember that. But either way, I want to thank all of you so much for following us through this whole series. I know it was really long, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot from it. I know we learned along the way a bit as well. There's always things I forget and then have to remember, and I make mistakes and then I have to figure it out later or whatever. But all in all, I think it came together pretty well. Just remember that there was definitely several things in here that I did differently because I'm going to be running the Mega Squirt. So keep that in mind and do things. If you were watching them, you should know, but do things like with the Fly Miata swap kit and stuff like that versus how I'm doing it, just DIY the whole way. If you're gonna be running everything stock and you're just happy with just a 1.8. But since I'm doing the turbo and the Mega Squirt, I think this will probably work pretty fine for the next few weeks. Anyways, also one other thing, sorry, I know that the channel's been coming along a little bit slow. This project has been taking a while because of the fact that Matt and I have just been very busy. We've actually only been able to come in for like a few hours a week just to come and work on it, so that's made things a bit difficult. And then he went on vacation, and then I'm about to go on vacation, yeah. So anyway, I want you all to know, thank you for watching. Keep an eye out because we'll have we still have a few videos coming out over the next couple weeks, but as soon as June starts, we are going to be hitting the ground with the turbo project probably, and I hopefully will be doing 2 videos a week throughout that process. We'll see what we can do. Hopefully we're not too busy. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but we've been having a lot of fun here, guys, so thank you for watching. And you want to tell me anything?
No, thanks for staying with us. Like Jesse said, we know it's been kind of long, so thank you guys for keeping tabs on us. I do got a pretty cool car coming in here in a couple of days that we're gonna start working on. One of my friends, she just can't get her car running, and I said, hey, I have a garage, so it'll roll in here, and hopefully you guys are gonna be excited to see it.
Yes.
I'm pretty excited about it.
It will be a very cool, fun car to work on, so I'm looking forward to it. You guys will
I think Mike will like it too.
Mike? Yeah, Mike will probably like it.
Mike will probably like it. Alright, you guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. We got pictures coming up, and we'll definitely be posting pictures about our turbo build and our new cars coming up.
And everything else we do too, because I don't know, we've been having a cruise night in Ramona. Sometimes we post pictures of that kind of stuff. What else? I don't know, there's other stuff going on too. And then also check out our extra channel, because I think we're gonna start putting stuff out on there pretty soon as well. Just some stuff that's a little bit different than what we do on here. So check that out. I don't know. Just go to our page on YouTube. It's GHX. If you search for it, like GearHeads Extras, but if you search for it, it probably won't come up right away because there's only like 17 subs on it right now.
Is there that many?
So I think, yeah. Ooh, 17. Yeah. But go check that out because we'd like to start uploading some stuff to there pretty soon as well. And back to you.
That's it. We'll catch you guys soon. Don't forget, keep wrenching.